The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Hello.
And Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hey, Father.
Hello there.
It's a different Andrew than the last time. Andrew Hermes was with us before.
Oh, very good, very good.
So we have Father Andrew back with us. And let's dive right into today's topics. We have two big topics I want to discuss. One Windows, one Mac. I often get accused of being Mac-centric on this show, so this just proves that I'm not. We're going to talk about, with our Windows expert, we're going to talk about what to do about Windows 10 going out of support in October. Windows 10 operating system, Microsoft has announced that after October, you're not going to get the regular updates. It's basically not going to be safe to keep using it on your computers. So, Pat, let's start with why is this a problem? Why couldn't someone just keep using Windows 10 after October? Why would you recommend that they not?
Well, basically, it's a matter of vulnerability to malicious software. And we already have a terrible trouble with people getting hacked, with accounts being taken over, with people getting scammed. There's no reason to increase that risk. So when the patches stop coming, then at that point, the machine will be at risk. So I have, for the last 6 or 8 months, this has been the biggest question, other than printers, that I've had to deal with. Right. And I have helped a lot of people try to go through the issues of what is going to be helpful for them. And so I'm basically using that experience here.
Okay.
The first thing is a lot of people say, as you say, what happens if I don't do anything? And yes, you're at great risk. Now, if somebody were a very, very careful person, it's possible they might not be attacked, but it's just not worth that risk. The second alternative is to see if you can upgrade your existing machine. And a lot of people don't realize that maybe theirs could upgrade. Microsoft has provided a tool, and the link will be in the show notes, to let you test your machine to see if it has all of the right security chips and memory and hard drive space that will allow it to go ahead and do a Windows 11 upgrade. Many people have already gone through this, but there are some machines that just didn't go through this process properly. And if it says you're eligible, then back up. The main thing is to make sure that you can hop back if you've got a problem. And then there are several ways that you can upgrade, either letting the operating system do the upgrade on its own, or creating a special boot disk or boot USB, and then booting with that and let it upgrade the machine. And if all goes well, then you're on Windows 11. And there are things that I recommend to help people adjust better to Windows 11 than what they were used to with Windows 10, but that works pretty well for a lot of people.
Could I ask?
Go ahead.
Is there a big difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11? Is this a giant leap forward for most people, or is it just sort of an evolutionary move?
There are two major things that changed. The way the start menu works, and a lot of people never even use the start menu. They just have icons on their desktop that they use. So for them, it's no big deal. The other thing is that the way the settings, like in a Mac, it's your system settings. Well, on a PC, it's the settings app, and things have changed a lot in there. But they give you a search so that you can find things pretty quickly. And then the third thing is the way the Explorer works, which is kind of like Finder. They've changed a lot of the options in there. And so that kind of stymies some people, but it's not big changes. It's just takes some getting used to. So often, if I'm involved, I will look at their old machine and make sure that all the icons they've got on their desktop look the same on Windows 11 when we get finished. And so everything looks pretty close. And I change some of the options to make it a little bit smoother.
Okay. So to review what we've already discussed then is first to see if your machine is upgradable to Windows 11, if you haven't already done that. If it is, then back up your machine to a clone or a reliable clone or image or something along those lines. And then do the upgrade to, which is the safest way is to boot from and install USB stick or disk and upgrade your machine from that boot disk instead of upgrading while
letting settings up do the update.
Right.
Many times that works. It's just that I have seen a few times where it didn't, and I just had to go start the install again from the full installation. Okay.
So when we are doing this, when we're creating this USB install, we need like just a USB thumb drive of any sort, right?
Right. It has to be at least 8 gigabytes. I prefer a 16 gigabyte drive, and whatever you've had on it's going to be gone. Okay. In the show notes, we'll have a link to where you can go get that routine to create the install disk. Okay. And at that point, you have to know a little bit about how do you boot from a USB drive on your machine, because that's not obvious to a lot of people. But once you've done that, then you can just say, do the setup, and it goes through and does it. And it takes several reboots, and it takes probably about 45 minutes to an hour, because it's got to go get updates again. But when that's finished, now you've got a Windows 11 machine.
With all of your data and applications still on it.
Yeah,
hopefully.
They have not been changed. Now, there may be some apps that as every OS upgrade happens, if you had some really old programs, they may not function properly under the new operating system. So, but you'll find that out.
Right.
Or do some research.
And to clarify, one of the things that when you're checking to see if your machine is eligible for the upgrade, there's a security chip that it's looking for, right? That
right.
Newer
There's some
PCs will have.
Yeah, the PC must be able to do a secure boot, and that means it's not going to boot into another operating system. So it has to be able to be locked into that secure mode. And there have to be a certain amount of memory, certain amount of hard drive, a certain processor, and that's the one that kills some people, is the processor may not be compatible. And in addition to the processor, there's a TPM chip, and it has to be running not the older TPM 1.0, but TPM 2.0. And so there's a bunch of different things that people may have a very powerful machine with lots of memory and a i7 processor, but it won't upgrade.
Ooh, okay. All right. I think we got a handle on that part then. So let's say it isn't eligible. It doesn't have the right chip, or some of the specs are off, and you can't upgrade to Windows 11. Is there an alternative?
Yes.
Do you suggest?
Just recently, Microsoft has announced that they will allow individuals to pay $30 and extend that license for a year, and they will continue to get the patches and the updates. For some of my clients, that may be a really, really good option, because that gives them a year to get a new machine if they have to, which is the next alternative.
Right. You're spending $30, and you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars now, but you will eventually have to.
Right. But right now, there's a lot of people that are going out and getting new machines. Supplies are really varying. Sometimes the machines that were pretty inexpensive before, they're not available. And then in another 6 weeks, all of a sudden, there'll be a whole glut of them again. So, if they can push that back a year, for some people, as long as their machine is running okay now, that's a good plan. If it's already slow and sluggish, it's got an old SATA drive, it's got 4 gigs of memory, that's not going to, it's not worth keeping that old machine.
Right. So what about switching? There's always switching to Mac, which is a whole different thing. But what about switching to another operating system using the same hardware, or even if you do upgrade to a new computer, you could reuse this old computer if it's still relatively recent. You could put a different operating system on it.
Right. For several clients, I have taken their old machine, and in one case, I put a version of Linux on it that looks and feels like Windows 10. When you call it up, it's got the start menu, it's got the taskbar, it's got the system tray, it has the icons for Word and Excel on it. It looks like Windows 10, but when you click on it, instead you get LibreOffice, you get LibreWriter, you get LibreCalc, and they've got their own file manager called Dolphin, but it's the same Explorer icon. They don't have to worry about, oh gosh, what is that one called? And it looks and feels like it, and they've done a real good job of using, there's two different Linux GUI interfaces for going and finding programs and getting, like a version of Zoom or a version of Spotify or things like that. And you can go and get those through these nicely packaged systems. You don't have to go command line. And so it's relatively easy to set up a machine that goes to the internet, uses Chrome, uses Brave, uses Bitdefender, Bitwarden, all of these, not Bitdefender, pardon me, that's an antivirus, but Bitwarden, your password manager, Dropbox, it's Spotify. I've got a lot of things running on these Windows clones. I mean, they look like Windows 10.
Right.
But they're really Linux.
And the version of Linux that looks like Windows is called
Free 10.
Free 10. Okay.
Now, there are a bunch of other ones that are similar, but they don't try to nail the look like Windows 10. But, the ones that are pretty easy to move to. And I've got some links in the show notes to, people's 5 top Linux distributions for people who don't know anything about Linux, type
right,
thing.
Right. Yeah, our Linux guys on the show have talked before about Linux Mint.
Mint is a real nice one. Right.
Ubuntu. Linux Mint is apparently the easiest one to move to. Like it's the most user friendly, beginner friendly one out there. So it's not like there's one every time I hear someone say that they were installing this particular Linux distro, all the other Linux guys go, ooh, street cred, because it's apparently so hard to do. It starts with an A. I forget what it is. Arch, I think it is.
I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't. Most of my clients are not going to be going out and playing with Linux at the command line. They're just not doing it.
Right.
Now, there is another alternative that I've used for some of my clients is if they mostly need to use the web browser and they use Google Docs, we can remake many machines, not every one, but many machines can be installed with the Chrome operating system called FlexOS. And basically, when you turn it on, it boots into Chrome, asks for your user ID and password, and then you can do anything that the Chrome browser, including any extensions and Google Docs, all of those things that are web-based. Version of Office is free for web-based. It can't run LibreOffice. It can't run games that are, you have to install. It's strictly a Chrome-based operating system, but it works really well.
Right.
And you could use Dropbox on it.
A web browser. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And you can, I've installed Dropbox on a Chromebook, and the other alternative, of course, is just get a Chromebook. But the defect on that is that they don't tend to, shall we say, support very old versions of Chromebooks, and so a computer that you can continually upgrade the version of Chrome FlexOS to me is more attractive.
Right. Okay. So, we have some options to upgrade to different operating systems. If you don't want to go out and buy a new computer that can run Windows 11, if you want to keep using it. But say you're like, no, I'm a Windows guy. I don't want to try anything new. I need to upgrade this machine. what do you what's involved here? Well, like who's going to say I need to buy a new machine?
Well, if your machine has a SATA drive, an older mechanical drive, and 8 gigs of memory, it's probably going to be really slow if you tried to upgrade that to Windows 11. It's just going to be, it's old hardware, older style hardware. I'm recommending if anybody's going to buy a machine that they get at least 16 gigs of memory and an i5 or an i7 processor, depending upon what they already have. If they've already got an i3, I would get an i5. If they've already got an i5 and they're happy with performance, stay with an i5 is fine. I like i7s. And anybody who's already got an i7, don't get an i5. You'll be very, very sad at the performance in a year or so.
Right.
And the new ones all come with SSD drives, which are very fast. And I know that there are a lot of options out there for buying computers. I stay away from the Oriental ones just because of parts in the difficulty in getting service. So,
like the Chinese brands, yeah. Right. Like like
besides tariffs,
yeah, right. Well, Well, although all of them are being built at some level in China, so you hit the tariffs one way or another. But like an American brand means you're going to have local customer service and local parts, that sort of thing. Makes it easier to service. Speaking of hard drives, do you have on Mac? I always say don't get anything less than 512 gigs. Get a gig, get a terabyte at least. You won't be sad. Is that similar advice on Windows?
Well, if somebody is mostly web browsing and they've got a handful of documents, they could get by. What you have to do is look at what you're already using. And some of them could get by with a 256 gigabyte. I have several clients who do. My own recommendation is don't get anything less than 512. Even if you've got only 256 gigs of data, get a 512.
Right.
If you take pictures or you listen to music and you have anything that's voluminous like that, a terabyte. And there's some really good deals, but a lot of the ones that they're selling right now are coming with 512 or 256. And so it's a jump of a couple of $100 to go up to the terabyte.
I feel like that's one way they try to keep the price low. They get you in the door by showing it's like a car dealership where they show you the car that's advertised is the one with the really small engine. It's like,
right.
If you want a decent engine, they get you in the door and they're like, but yeah, you want to get a little bigger hard drive. So let's bump you up a little bit. I feel like that's one of those things they're trying to get you in the door with the low spec, low price, but you're going to want something a little more. So just expect that.
Right.
I think.
I would say, the people who I have a lot of 80-year-olds and a lot of people who don't do much more than a few documents and everything else is on the web with the browser and their email. Yeah, they could get, a 512 machine is going to be much more than they need, and that's fine. But I don't really recommend anything less than that. Okay. And then terabyte for anybody who's got a significant amount of pictures or music that they're keeping track of.
Okay.
It's real expensive to go to 2 terabyte.
Yeah, that is a big jump. I've seen that myself. Apple is the same and worse in many ways with the jump in cost from one SSD size to the next.
And depending upon where you live, you may have somebody who could take that 256 laptop drive and put a new one in there. So many of the laptops are pretty hard to get into, but like the Dells, I've upgraded those the little SSD drives in there. I've got a place in town that upgrades them all the time, and so some of the places could do that. But I would say overbuy the hard drive. Don't get it too small.
Right. That's a. I in general I tell people that get more hard drive space than you think you'll need. And most PCs, you can upgrade the RAM after you buy it, even though, like we say, get 16 to start. If you needed more, I can't imagine you would need more unless you're a gamer or like, you need more if you need more. You know what I mean? You're a gamer,
Right.
you're a graphic designer or something like that. But for regular folks, 16 is probably as much as you need.
Yeah, it really is, because that's double what most of the Windows 10 machines had.
Right.
You know, because they always came with four in the early days. 8 was pretty standard, and now, as I say, I'm saying 16. I really am.
And again, as a Mac guy, this is Windows advice. I would have different advice for people looking at Macs, different specs. I might tell you to look at that 32 on a Mac, because that the amount of RAM you have makes some dramatic differences in the speed of the computer. But again, it also depends on what you're doing with the computer, I guess.
Yeah, if you've got somebody who's got multiple browsers open with 20 tabs or more open in each one, and you're running huge spreadsheets, yeah, you need more memory, and 32 is not bad.
Right. Exactly.
But, most people, 16 is going to be fine.
Okay. Any other advice? Any other things we want to tell people about this Windows upgrade? Have some links, as you mentioned, to resources.
And then just realize, one of the things that I do want to say is Microsoft, when you either upgrade or when you get an update to the operating system, really wants to push OneDrive on you. And if you're not prepared for it and you're not running Office 365 and they shove everything in OneDrive, you got a problem. But we've talked about OneDrive before. But
right.
when you're setting up your new machine, keep saying no to all the things that they want to tell you to do.
Right.
And it's a personal preference, but they encrypt the operating system as a default. I mean, not the operating system, the hard drive is a default. And for some of my clients, that's necessary because of the type of work they do. But I've had more people that I had trouble recovering a machine that died because disk encryption was turned on and they didn't have the keys. So that's just a thought, is watch out for OneDrive. And if you are not sure that you want to keep track of a 28-character key, turn off encryption. Okay,
good. I think that should be a good primer for most Windows users who are facing this, Windows 10 end of life in the fall. So if folks have specific questions, you're welcome to write in, and we'll run them by you and see what else we can say about it. But you can email us at technology@sqpn.com, and Windows users, good luck. And after the break, we're going to have another discussion about upgrading operating systems from a different point of view. But first, we want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Christopher F., Sarah N., Victor P., Ben B., and Susan P. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. All right, so we just talked about a Windows upgrade. Now let's talk about the Apple upgrades. That's we're going to talk about a bunch of the Apple OS operating system upgrades. If folks will remember, in June, Joanne and I talked about the upcoming upgrades to the Apple operating systems that were announced at WWDC. Father, you have been the intrepid explorer who's gone down this path, risking it all for us. You've upgraded all the things.
Tell
me about it.
Almost. First of all, I want to point out that I feel like we're talking about the circle of life here on this episode. We had the end of Windows 10 and now the beginning of life of all the OS 26 in the Apple world.
Right.
So you see, I love to kind of get in on the cutting edge of the betas for Apple, and that can be a risky thing, but my work life does not revolve around my MacBook, so I can kind of play around with it. And it's my phone too, but my work phone is still not upgraded to the beta. But and I did not. So I have done the betas on everything that I could. Ironically, my watch is old enough. It will not run even the current OS, watch OS. So out of all of my tech, the watch is the one that I neglect. And so the watch OS I haven't really been able to test, but I do have the iOS 26, Mac OS 26 Tahoe, and the iPad OS 26 on my iPad. So I think they're really cool. But first of all, just kind of a pet peeve of mine I want to get out of the way first is as I hate the numbering. I don't really know if anybody out there thinks that it's intuitive. It would have been more intuitive had they done 25 instead of 26, because we're midway through 25 when they release these, and even they'll release them in 25 in the fall. I
think it's like cars, because once you get to January, then it seems dated. I get it. I get it. This is the problem with releasing operating systems in the fall. Like, it doesn't. Do it in January. That should be 26.
Right. Well, yeah. Even cars though confuse me. So like, you got to like sit for a minute and think, okay, was it a 2025 car that I got or a 2024? And then like go back a year if you got it new. Like,
right.
So anyways, if you guys like the numbering, I guess that's fine. Okay, whatever. But now I just got to rethink about it.
I like that they're all the same. That's my
yes, they're all the same. The OSs are all the same. They're still keeping the 16, 17 numbering for the iPhones. It's not going to be the iPhone 26. So the hardware numbering is still not. Yeah. So it's the OSs are all
confusing.
So
I mean, we're kind of going down a rabbit hole, but would it be more confusing if it was the iPhone 26 running iOS 26? I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't. Okay.
I don't know. Either way, that's a discussion for another day. Yes. In terms of the beta, though, I mean, the most drastic difference, and I wouldn't even call it a drastic difference, but they propose the liquid glass look for the new OSs. So the computer, the phone, the iPad, they all kind of have a similar look, and it's based off of the Vision OS kind of liquid glass look, which I personally think that it looks pretty slick. I know I was reading a number of the developer betas. Apple kind of went too far into the transparency, and I know people had issues like when you would swipe down for the control center, it was hard to read because it was too transparent. And then one of the more recent betas, they went kind of the opposite and went too kind of opaque with some of the transparencies, and then they kind of settled somewhere in the middle by the time that the public beta was released. Mm-hmm. And for my purposes, I think that it does look pretty slick. I don't really have any kind of visual problems with the liquid glass look. I will admit though, one of the things that they showed is that with all the apps with the new liquid glass and the new iOS, you can make them all transparent in look. So it removes all the color from the apps. They're all kind of a shade of white, and they kind of just blend into the liquid glass environment. To be honest, for me, that makes them all look way too similar, and it's hard to kind of distinguish which apps you're trying to hit. So for some people, they may like that. I didn't really like that, but I also didn't really like with the current OS, you could also tint all the apps to be one color, and I didn't really like that either. But
yeah,
at least those are optional
for me. Yeah. But,
so
it's. I like that people get options. I should say, by the way, that I would be right there with you upgrading things, but I was away for 2 weeks overseas, and I was not going to be running betas while I'm in another country. That's just insanity. But as soon as I got back, and I've upgraded, and the public beta just came out.
Yes.
I don't advise anyone. I don't run developer betas because that's just crazy pants. Those are designed to break. Mm-hmm. I usually wait for the second public beta, although I didn't wait for the iPad because the iPad is not mission critical to me for any of my stuff. So, but I will probably, once the second public beta drops, upgrade my phone. I might. We'll see. I really want to.
And I mean, you can always use Melanie's phone if it breaks.
Yeah, right.
You're getting with the iPad. You're getting the same look and feel of the iOS 26. However, with the iPad OS, you're getting, and definitely we should make mention of this. I think one of the biggest things for the iPad OS is you can actually now window your apps.
Yes.
Instead of just having them full screen, or currently you can kind of put one on, like have two of them side by side, but it's still full screen. Now you can actually have them as windows, which is a great addition to the iPad.
It takes a little getting used to, because like when you I've noticed, like I'm just used to like swiping it away, like I'm in the app and I swipe at the bottom to go back to the home screen. It doesn't go away. It's just there on the edge. It's like, oh wait, that's still there. If I want that to close, I have to actually close the window, which is more like a Mac.
Yep.
I find it much more intuitive than Stage Manager ever was.
Yes,
the windowing. So I do like that.
Well, and it's still kind of merging a laptop and a tablet. So you're gonna be able to do more laptop kind of functionality on an iPad.
Right. There are times when I really want to be able to like have Excel open and then have, something else I'm consulting behind it, and go back and forth on my iPad. And because there've been times where I'm like, I'm gonna have to bring my Mac, because I at this place I'm going to, I'm gonna need to go back and forth between like my browser and the app all the time, and that's just annoying on an iPad. Well, now I might be able to get away with it on an iPad, so that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So what else have you noticed in your using it?
Well, so one of the bigger things that I've noticed would be the Photos app. One of the biggest complaints with the current Photos app is that Apple sort of changed it too drastically and tried to add too many collections and pinned things, and it was almost too clunky, too much. And so they almost kind of reverted it to a hybrid between the way that it was and then the way that the current OS works. So when you open the Photos app, it's set to automatically just go to your photos like it would have back in previous OSs. But then they have a tab at the bottom where you can go to what's called collections, and that's their kind of compromise. You can still have your pinned collections, your favorites, your albums. And I think it's a good balance between the two. I didn't mind the drastic upgrade with Photos in the previous OS. It was a little you had to get used to it, but I didn't really mind it because I think it's kind of fun to have new layouts and kind of figure things out. But it's also, I totally get, for someone who's used to it being a certain way, it was a too drastic of a change. So this kind of allows you to still be able to play with both of them. And two things that I wasn't able to try yet, and I still want to, would be the AI assisted phone calling things.
Right.
So those, I know that they're there, the call screening and hold assist. I haven't been able to try those, but those I think would be, well, I don't know if I'd use them. I get their usefulness, where the AI, like call screening, the AI will answer a phone call and force the caller to say their name and their purpose of calling before it rings through to you. And then hold assist, that one would be more useful to me, is where it'll detect if you're on hold, and it will then notify you when you get taken off of hold. I
am so waiting for that. That's one of the things that drives me crazy. Like, because then what I do is I put my phone in speakerphone and I put it over there on the desk, and I start working again, and I get this annoying hold music I got to listen to, and then they come back and you're scrambling. I'm here. That sort of thing. Yeah. I
had the unfortunate experience of having to call the IRS because we had some just church businessy things that were off, and it was, wait time is expected to be 3 hours. And it was like, okay. So I just listened to elevator music for 3 hours in my office.
Oh my gosh. That is annoying.
So, but I assume those would work really well. I just haven't had a chance to play with them yet.
Okay.
Those
would be the reasons I would upgrade my phone. Because those are the big pain points. Sorry, go ahead.
Messages got a bit of an upgrade too. This one, more cosmetic, and you don't really have to do this, but it's funny because the biggest thing that I've noticed is you can add backgrounds to your conversations, your group chats, your individual conversation. And I remember years ago when I saw that, like on Facebook, or I forget, some of the other messaging platforms doing it, I thought it looked stupid. And then I thought,
sometimes,
yeah. And then I thought this, I used to think the same thing about emojis, and now I'm an emoji user. So I'm like, okay. so it's kind of fun. So like my message that my chat with my mom, I have an AI generated image of a little latte, because my mom and I like to drink coffee together. And you know, if you have the right background, it doesn't interfere with the text bubbles. But some backgrounds are way too busy.
Here's a practical use for that, because I don't know. I think a lot of people, maybe most people, have had the experience where you're having two different conversations and you accidentally type the wrong thing into the wrong conversation.
Yep.
My wife, Melanie, did that with me, and a conversation she was having with her sister. Luckily, it wasn't anything upsetting. Like, why are you telling me about our trip to Italy? I'm here with you. She's like, oh, wait, that's supposed to be the tree. So if you have a different background for the different people, it's a nice visual clue. Otherwise, it's all blue bubbles, green bubbles. You know, it all looks the same. So I like the idea of that for a practical reason. To save some embarrassment.
Yep. Just be careful with too busy of a background, because then it's just it's annoying.
Yes.
The camera app also got an upgrade, which I think is great. It's much simpler. You open up the camera app and your two options are photo or video. And if you want the additional options of a panoramic or a portrait mode, you can just kind of swipe on the photo or video kind of tab, where you tab between the two, or just push and hold and all the other options pop up. So it's all the options are still there. It's just a much simpler layout. You know, for most people, all they want to do is open their camera app and take a good picture. It's often you kind of get lost in all the different modes, and nope, the modes are all there, but it's just a lot simpler and easier to just take a picture quick.
Yeah, I've had way too many times that all of a sudden I was taking a panoramic. No, I wasn't. I didn't want that.
Why is it in slow-mo?
Or portrait.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Yeah. And then some of the AI functionality has gotten better. One of the cool things, I haven't yet tried this either, but the live translations I think is going to be just super cool, where you can get a live translation in your messages app, in FaceTime, and just on a phone call. And it'll translate, and I think it'll speak it to you as well in your native language, someone speaking a different language, and it'll translate just on the fly.
That would be nice.
We're looking at Star Trek.
I keep thinking I think of the TARDIS translation bubble or whatever they call that.
When I was in Italy, I mean, this would have been so great. I mean, you get by, a lot of people speak English, whatever, but it would be so much easier if people could just like have it translate for you. Yeah.
Well, and I've found the struggle, because I'm still in process of developing my Spanish, but trying to speak with Spanish speaking parishioners. And I've had to do let me pull out the Google Translator app and then record them saying their sentence and then, translate it and playing back, where this is a natural conversation that translates on the fly.
Especially if you have an AirPod in. That sort of thing.
The other really cool thing about the AI that the new OS is doing is if you take a screenshot, you can then have the screenshot be analyzed by AI and ChatGPT, where it'll go to the internet and search for other images similar to it, or if you're trying to take a picture of something and you're trying to find other things that are looking like it, or have ChatGPT analyze whatever the contents of the photo are. That's also pretty cool.
Wow. Here's a picture of my engine. Why isn't it running?
Maybe not quite that advanced.
We're not quite there yet. Yes,
unless it's on fire, and then I might be able to tell you that, there's your problem.
So can I take a picture of a crossword puzzle and let it solve it for me?
Probably.
That would be a fun test. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be kind of contradictory, but yeah.
So those were kind of my iOS kind of points that I played around with. I also upgraded my MacBook to the Mac OS 26 Tahoe, and I guess not as much to say there other than it's also got the liquid glass, so it's got a similar look and feel to all the other OSs. And one of the cool things though is that there's a phone app now on the Mac OS, which mirrors the phone app on your phone. Wow. So you can make phone calls from your Mac. It relays it through your phone, so it's still using your cellular number and all of that. But it like the phone app just pops up on your computer screen as if you were holding your phone just right in front of you, which is cool.
Yeah, the old way you could have it ring on your Mac. You could like calls could ring.
It would ring through FaceTime.
Yeah, it was kind of clunky, and I never I think I tried it like once or twice. It didn't work, and I'm like never doing that again. And turned it off. But this you can create an outgoing call. So I'll try it again. We'll see if it works. I don't make a lot of phone calls. Thankfully.
I called my mom just to kind of test it, and it worked seamlessly. It was really cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, I guess in terms of usability. For me, I'm probably never going to use it. If I'm on my computer, I'm going to FaceTime her rather than phone call. But what I was thinking of is when I was working for the coal mines, 20 years ago, they had some sort of fancy phone system built into the computers that would, when their phone rang, it must have been VoIP, but their phone system was on their computer. And so I'm thinking maybe for a more work-based where you're making a lot of phone calls, you can plug in have a Bluetooth headset, it might be more functional for that sort of thing than just kind of your average person.
Yeah. I wonder if you can automate it and connect it to like a contact management system, so you can make the calls from like I'm in the contacts. I get a call button. I don't have to like pick up my phone, have it ring the phone. I could just do it from the Mac or or a CRM, like a client relationship manager, that sort of thing.
Well, it should use the Apple Contacts.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. You're right. Whereas now, before Tahoe, it has to still call through your phone. Like you still have to use your, pick up your phone and talk on your phone. Whereas it will just dial it through the Mac and you just talk through the Mac. That would be interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It also will show live activities from your phone directly on the Mac, which is also a cool thing there. The other big thing that I noticed, and I am so happy for this, Launchpad has thankfully been put to rest. Yes. Launchpad, it was meant to sort of emulate like pulling up your app library on your phone and you could see all your apps. I never found it useful. I
only ever used it when it got
an appendix.
When I accidentally activated it.
Right. Or if like I just installed an app, I knew it was at the very end. So there was never like you could reorder them and stuff, but it's been replaced with, they're just calling it the app library, which just
like
is
phone.
Yeah. Yep. And it's just way more intuitive. You click on that button, all the apps show up. They're all organized alphabetically. And then they do have kind of your kind of top used apps or the most recent used apps at the top, but also it pops up with the search bar automatically. So it's just so much easier to scroll through that or start typing in the app that you want and click on it rather than the poor Launchpad, which may be good in theory, but not so good in practice.
Right. Okay. So those are the public betas you've installed. It sounds like it's interesting the whole liquid glass thing. They show off at WWDC this radical design, and it feels like they've dialed it back some. Like it's a little too radical for the user base, and we dial it back, and maybe they'll dial it back in a little bit over time. I think it seems to be a pattern. Like they did this, I think, in iOS 7. They had this radical change, dialed it back in response to the users, and then kind of dialed it back in slower. And
Yeah, they should be able to give you an option. Do you want more transparency or more opaqueness too?
Yeah,
that would be
They should.
Honestly, it works best when the things that the OS is doing are subtle, which I don't even like. They're there. I notice if I notice they're not there when they're gone, but they just you know what I mean. Like
shouldn't interrupt.
The slight when you press the button, the slight elongation, like the physicality of it, that sort of stuff. That is not you don't consciously aware of it. If you're consciously aware of it, it's too much. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I've always liked. I never want it to be too drastic, but I've always liked the visual refreshes and changes because it keeps the phone feeling fresh and new. But I wouldn't want it to be so drastic that it's annoying. So when they swapped over from kind of the, I forget which OS it was, kind of the more 3D looking buttons to the kind of the flat, that was a drastic change.
That was iOS 7, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I felt it was a change in the right direction, so I wasn't annoyed by it. I felt it was a cleaner interface. And this one is not so much of a drastic change. It's a more subtle, but it's still quite a it's a very visual change.
Right.
But not so much that I'm at all annoyed by it. In fact, I think I personally like it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so far looking at it on my iPad, it's not so different that I look and go, "Oh, that's just that's just a big adjustment." But it is a small difference, and it's subtle, and I like it. I think
and pleasing,
subtle,
hopefully.
Yes. Subtle is good. Well, so in general, just to kind of reiterate, I wouldn't put any beta on something that's mission critical. If you're earning your living doing it, don't put it on it yet, or ever. Maybe wait until the official release. But if you've got, if it's not mission critical, if you've got a spare one or one that you just, a personal one versus a work one, it may be worth a try. I mean, now that the public betas are out, Apple is officially saying this is the sort of thing we want people to try, the general public. And they make it so easy now. I should probably mention how do you do it? You go into settings and you go into general software update, and under updates it says beta updates, and you can choose just have it install the beta update. It's simple as that.
And you can turn it off again later.
And then you can go back. Oh, I was going to say about the watch. The one thing about betas on the watch is you can't easily go back on the watch. That's one you've got to be a lot more sure about. But I never put a beta on my watch because the only way to go back is to take it to the Apple Store and have them do magic.
Oh, not even just a factory reset.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
No. So you really, you really, I would say, unless you're a developer, I wouldn't put betas on your watch. So I'm to be full disclosure, I'm probably gonna. I upgrade my phone every other year, so this is an upgrade year for me from the phone. But I probably am going to upgrade my watch to the Ultra 3 if they come out with that, because my battery life is dying. I think, in fact, my watch just warned me I have 10% battery life left, and it's fairly early in the evening for me. So it's really at that point where I'm not getting a whole day, and the Ultras will get several days worth, and that really would have come in handy.
That would be nice.
It comes in handy when I'm camping with the Scouts. Then I can go the whole weekend without having to worry about how do I charge my watch. But it would have come in handy when I was, on my trip last couple of weeks. All right. Well, thank you, Father, for being the canary in the coal mine for us. Speaking of coal mining, on this and reporting in on how it's going. So that brings us to the last part of our show, which is our picks of the week. And Father, why don't you go first? I have an idea of what your pick of the week is going to be.
In fact, I don't really need to talk about it a whole lot. My pick of the week is the iOS 26 public beta. Like I've mentioned before, I love to be on the cutting edge, and I think that the public beta is a lot of fun to play with. But again, I would heed Dom's advice that use it on a phone that's not essential, and have fun with it too.
Mm-hmm. One other thing you mentioned is when you put a beta on your phone, especially, you're going to have shorter battery life, and you're going to, because that's one of the last things they do is optimize it for battery life. And it's going to run hot for a while. In fact, whenever you upgrade your phone to a major upgrade, it's going to run hot while it's doing all the whatever it does in the background, shuffling the stuff.
Yeah, don't be surprised. It will run hot for a while.
Yeah.
No.
So good. All right. So Pat, what is your pick this week?
Well, I've had a lot of my clients that were concerned about backing up their libraries of photos and or music are the two biggest things they're concerned about. So I got on the Amazon sale that they had recently, I went ahead and got a 4 terabyte Crucial SSD drive, and it's very fast, and it is pretty resistant to water, dust, etc., and drops. And it's about 2x2 as far as the size of it, and it's real thin, so it's easy to slip into a backpack or a wallet or anything like that. It's very small, and yet it's really nice, and it's very fast, as I say. Comes with its a little USB to US, C to C cable. So
nice. 4 terabytes for $246 in that small size.
I know.
It's amazing. The capacities, the prices have not been coming down as fast as they historically have, but they are coming down on the capacity. So that's good. I have a future pick of the week for a small portable hard drive that's similarly inexpensive. So, but that's for a future pick. My pick this week is something else. It's so I've been on like I've mentioned several times, I've been on a trip, and I wanted to have something that would be easy for me to kind of put down the phone so I could take a photo, like a selfie, or like a group shot or something like that. I didn't want to carry a tripod around, though. That's annoying and kind of obnoxious. So this is much more lightweight. It's the MOFT, or MOFT, phone tripod stand, and it's about the size and shape of a credit card. The footprint of it. It's a little thicker, obviously, and it folds out several different ways. You can fold it so that it's sort of a stand for the phones, like it's sort of like you can look at the front of the phone and have it sitting on a desk and looking at the screen. But you can also use it. And it's magnetic, it's like MagSafe. So that's how it attaches to the phone. Or you can use it in a tripod mode where it sort of folds out in a A shape, and with a vertical bit off the top. Just click on the link and go to the Amazon. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm describing it terribly, but it allows you to, it doesn't give you lots of height, but it allows you to put the phone down somewhere and take a photo. Have it take a video or a photo. Especially if you have your Apple Watch, you can use the camera remote button to take the picture on your watch. I do that for our holiday photos in my family all the time. You can also set a timer on the camera remote, so you can tap it and then stop, and in 10 seconds it'll take the photo. But this little thing, you can just slide in your pocket next to your wallet, and you'll never notice it's there. And then when you need it, it's there to take a picture. So really kind of handy. I've had several different small tripods that I've tried to carry around. Some are so small they get lost, which I've lost one or two of them. But this one is big enough that I'm not going to lose it. Small enough that I don't feel like it's an annoyance in my pocket. It's available on Amazon for about $40. You might be able to get it on sale at times, but it's nice. Yeah.
I have to chuckle because I wish I would have known this before yesterday, because I was hiking with a group of priest friends, and literally one of the guys put his phone on a rock to take a picture of us and sent the picture to us today, and the whole photo is crooked. Right. And so all of us are standing upright, but the photo itself is crooked, and we could have totally used that kind of a tripod to get a good picture.
Yes, trying to find like a level place to prop your phone safely and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, this takes care of a lot of that. So that's really, really nice. All right, so those are our picks of the week, and that is our discussion for this time. We would love to get any feedback from you on anything we talked about or any questions you might have, topics you want to suggest us to talk about in the future. We love to get your feedback, and you could do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC307. Be sure to follow the Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should be sure to hit the bell to get notifications of new episodes. So until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely.
Pat Scott, thank you as well.
It was good to be here as usual.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Doctor Who. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who.